Welcome to another Fix It with Kronk. So I have a 2016 Subaru Outback, and apparently this is a known issue with this model. The driver's side seat, the pleather has been peeling. Some that I've seen online are much worse than this. I've been trying to keep this together with a series of electrical tapes and glue and seat covers and stuff like this, and it's just not working. So we purchased a new cover just for the seat part of the driver's side, and this video is going to cover how my adventure in replacing this is going to go. So stay tuned. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is pop these bolt covers off, front and back. And it may be easier if you move the seat back before you do that. For the front, you see in here there's a little tab, so you can poke that down in and pop that out. And I'm going to pause the video to do that. So in the front, covers are off now, both sides. And you've got a bolt here. This is a 14 millimeter socket. So you're going to want to be sure to use 14 millimeters for that. And I'm going to go and do the back ones now. Same thing with the back. There's a little tab in here. You want to use a screwdriver or something like that to push that down, and then this cover will pop right off. Just like with the front, the back bolts are 14 millimeters. So I'm going to take all 4 of those bolts out, and then I'll shut the video, pause the video in order to get those out. Okay, so I got all 4 bolts out. So the seat is loose now, but we do have some connections here. Now you want to be careful because the connections are all electrically connected to your battery, and that could wind up causing a problem if you accidentally discharge your airbags. So we're going to disconnect the battery just to be sure that that doesn't happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to disconnect the positive from the battery, take the cover off, and we're going to find the wrench size to fit that. We're going to remove that off the post. So it is a 10 millimeter socket, or a 10 millimeter wrench, and what we'll do is we will loosen this bolt, this nut, and then we will use a rag to make sure that the cable does not reconnect with the post on the battery while we're working. Okay, battery is now disconnected, and we can proceed with the connections under the seat. So you see there is an elastic loop holding the back of the seat cover in place. You want to take that off. And there's also a couple of clips up here for the front. One on the right, one on the left. Pop those off. Okay, and then we're going to go from there. On the console side of the seat, you'll see that one of these controllers, might be for the heated seats or something else, loops through here. So at the very least, you're going to have to connect the one that is underneath the seat for that, so that can feed through the new seat cover. Actually, and take off from the old seat cover. So you want to follow that through, and you're going to see that that connects to the first black connection here. And that connection needs a little screwdriver to pop that out, and then this will come right out. Actually, on this one, you don't really need a little screwdriver. You can just push on the back of this little lever, and it pops up, and then the front socket will pull right out. So actually, it was the back that pulled off, not the front. But you are going to have to disconnect this clip because this whole cable here has to be pulled through that hole that I showed you in that side of the seat cover. So I believe that this one is just requires a screwdriver to pop off. And this one over here is an alligator type clip that also a screwdriver should be able to pop that off. And you'll see on this left one, I come into focus here. It's an alligator type clip. It's held on with a zip tie. So you're going to want to snip that zip tie so you don't have to worry about pulling that whole clip through the hole. And then you'll just replace the zip tie later. What we're going to do now is we're going to disconnect these other three and this this support pin here, so we can remove the whole seat from the car and work on it where we have some more space to work. Okay, so now we got the seat out. We got it upside down on a piece of cardboard and finding all sorts of treasures inside the seat from things that were dropped, and continuing with removal of this side wire. This was for the seat belt, so it's the seat belt sensor, so that has to come out because it goes through this hole here, and gently trying to feed that out through so we don't damage the plug. I'm going to need 2 hands for that, so I'm going to pause the video here too. Before I took the seat out, I disconnected this elastic, but you see we also got these back seat clips here, and these guys just pop off. So to be, I'm going to need 2 hands for this, but these 3 have to come off. And since there's a hole in the cover that has to come off, these guys have to get unplugged and fed through the hole and then back through when we put the new cover on. To get the side clips off, you push down on the seat, loosen this fabric up, and then with the other hand you can pop the clip off from the underside. It comes off like that. Now for the control side, the driver's side here, control side, you need to take this screw off because this cover, side cover, needs to come off. But you have to be careful because there's an airbag in here and it should not deploy because of the electrical all being disconnected, but you still want to be careful nonetheless. So I took the side clip off, same way I did the other side. You'll see that there's a hole in the old cover that I'm replacing, but my new cover does not have that hole in it. So I don't have to worry about disconnecting this wire. I can just cut the old one and pull the cover off. So I disconnected these other wires under the seat to get them through this hole in the cover. There's some other connections here, like this wire connection here underneath. I'm not going to cut that one for the seat, but you'll see if I can take it off from the top. The seat cover has these metal stays in it, and there are some rings underneath, and these rings need to be removed in order to remove the seat cover, and we can actually use zip ties to hold the new cover on in place. So you have to find these rings. They're metal rings, wire rings, and you need to clip those so that you can pull the cover off. So that was quite a journey. Each one of these cross pieces had 2 rings on them, and I didn't cut the rings, but I opened them up so that they would spread out. Then on the sides there are these metal wires that help to keep the seat cover in place. I had to bend the loop open on the end so that they would come off of the old seat cover. You can see all the rings that are on there on the sides. Now the new seat cover has plastic stays in it instead of metal stays. So I'm going to try to replace the metal rings just with zip ties to for ease of reinstallation. So I fed the new seat cover fabric in the back here through, and remember there's a hole here for this wire that we had disconnected from the old one, so that's got to be fed through before we can clip these clips back in place. So the wires are through the hole. The connectors, which helpfully were marked with a blue marker at the factory, I guess, can be plugged back together. It's hard to do this with one hand. And then this gets tucked under here to help keep it stable. And then the white one gets plugged into here. Once those connections are all in place, then you can just hook the elastic back under there. Now, on the underside of this seat, you'll see that there are two tabs, and these have to go down into the slots and secured to the foam, and we'll use zip ties for that. On the side, these stays, I'll rebend the loop in the end, and then the plastic stays in the new cover will be zip tied to these, and then we can push them down into the grooves. So the stays on the side on the new cover are plastic, they're not metal. Hopefully they'll hold on. I bent the loops back in the ends here, and when I put these, the front and the back ones in, for these, do these loose at first, and then you can tighten them as the seat cover is put down in place. I'll do the same thing for the right hand side. We'll put the cover back on and we'll be good to go. So now that I have the steel stays zip tied to the plastic stays on the cover, I got the back ones, and these are anchored to the wires that are embedded in the seat. So we'll zip tie these tight in the back first, and then we'll do the ones in the front. So the back's zip tied down, the front's zip tied down, the sides are zip tied. We're going to make sure that these stays are shoved into this groove here, and then we can put the rest of the cover on. So the side seat covers have to tuck under so that plastic hook that's on them will grab on the inside of that rail. Okay, so a little bit more wrestling of the cover, putting the clips back in place on the sides, reattaching the control panel. Everything looks pretty good. Now to put it back into the car. Okay, so got all the connectors hooked up. I got all of the zip ties, all of the wires securing zip ties back in place, even the clip over on the side. Now to bolt the seat back in, hook the battery back up, and make sure everything's working properly. Okay, project's finished. Seat's back in, covers are on, good to go. A little bit of wrinkles in here, probably settle in as we use it. So there we go. Thanks for watching another Fix It with Kronk. Please like and subscribe and tell your friends. Thanks. See you on the flip side.